You know what is hiding in your silence. There is no need to disguise it. If there were clarity, you would not be here. If there were honesty, you wouldn't need to question. If there were freedom, you wouldn't feel trapped. This is not complicated. It is terrifying, and because the truth demands action. Observe the facts, not what could be. This relationship. Silences says yes, promises attention, does not sustain connection. And you, try to understand, justify the lack, wait for change, waste time. There is no mystery in this. There is a pattern that serves one side and imprisons the other. You call it connection because facing it as wear and tear requires courage. You call it a phase because accepting that it is a prison is uncomfortable. The bond persists because you accept it, not because it is strong, but because you do not cut it. Those who manipulate do not need to explain. Those who wait always justify themselves too much. Today you live trying to make sense of behaviors that do not need to be understood, only recognized as they are. When someone cares, they act. When someone respects, they sustain. When someone wants, they do not hesitate. The rest is just noise. If you need to fight not to lose, you have already lost. If you need to compete with indifference, you have been placed second. If you need to beg for attention, this is not a relationship. It is wear and tear. You are not trapped. You are paralyzed, and this paralysis is a choice. The plain and simple truth is this. Nothing changes because change is not advantageous for those who receive everything without giving anything in return. As long as you remain available, the cycle remains functional. For the other, you do not need more conversations. You do not need more empty promises. You do not need another let's see. You need to decide whether you will continue to accept this cost. This is not a comfortable ending. It is just a point where you stop. And this point does not come alone. The only thing you notice is the repetition. A familiar dance, worn-out steps. Each movement echoes in your thoughts. You ask yourself, for how long? The answer is not in the other person. It is in you. And that is the hardest thing to accept. While you wait, the wear and tear advances. Time is not your ally. Each scheduled meeting, each unanswered message is a reminder, a vicious cycle that consumes your energy. Expectation turns into disappointment. You become a shadow of what you could be, and that shadow weighs heavily. You carry the weight of unfulfilled promises, of words that were never spoken. You cling to what should have been, to memories of moments that shone, now overshadowed by unsatisfactory reality. You are stuck in distorted images of a future that does not exist. Each silence is a disguised warning, a muted scream that calls for change, but you refuse to listen. You find comfort in illusions. It is easier to imagine that one day everything will be different, that things will get better. But the truth is, you are waiting for something that is not on its way. You try to justify every behavior. You try to understand why that person acts the way they do, what prevents them from stepping forward. And in this labyrinth of questions, you get lost. Confusion sets in. At some point, you realize that the search for answers only amplifies the pain. What was supposed to be a healthy relationship turns into a burden. You act as if you have control, as if your presence makes a difference. But the reality is different. You are just feeding an illusion. When someone wants to be present, no effort is needed. The presence is natural, fluid. There is no need to question it. It is evident. What you call love is actually an emotional prison. Each passing day, the chains tighten, and you convince yourself that this is normal. Accept indifference as part of the routine. The warmth of feelings turns into coldness, and you, without noticing, lose the ability to value yourself. You give up on your own essence. The nights drag on, the days become shadows. The emptiness fills your space. What should bring joy only brings anxiety. You find yourself in a cycle of unfulfilled promises. Hope slowly dissipates, and you find yourself surrounded by an invisible wall that you built yourself. Some people don't even notice what's happening. They go on with their lives while you remain hostage to an unbalanced relationship. You hope that the other person has an epiphany, that one day everything changes. But the change is in your hands, and that is the hardest thing to recognize. You cling to the idea that the relationship is special. You remember the good times and live with the illusion that they are enough. But the truth is harsh. What you feel is not reciprocity, it is dependency. You fear loneliness, but the reality is that loneliness is already part of your daily life. The freedom you long for does not come from outside, it resides within you. If you can't break free from what doesn't serve you, you will always be trapped in the cycle. And this means that each day will become an even heavier burden. Each small slip by the other person is a deep cut. You know that the choice to stay is yours. No one can decide for you, and that is the great irony. While you remain in a space that is not rightfully yours, the other person continues to live without considering your value. It is a game without a winner, and you have already lost a lot of time. If you truly wanted to change, you would. If you wanted to break the shackles, you would take action. But the paralysis is comfortable, and you remain there, turning the same feelings over, trying to find comfort in worn-out memories. You don't want to face the truth, so you choose to stay. Reality does not mold itself to your expectations. It presents itself raw, without adornments. Every moment of hesitation is another step farther from who you really are. The pressure you feel is a result of your choices, and none of them involves the decision to move forward. What you need is a turning point, a moment where everything becomes clear, where the discomfort of transformation is more acceptable than the pain of stagnation. And that point depends on you. Reality has already been presented, you are here now, and the future does not wait for your decision. You see yourself in the mirror, but the image reflected is distorted. What was once you now seems like a fragment, a faded version of who you could be. All the unfulfilled promises created a fog that obscures your vision. You no longer know who you are, only what you are not. Something treacherous infiltrates your mind. Comparison. You observe other lives, other relationships. Smiles that seem genuine, moments that exude joy. And then doubt arises. Why don't you have that? Why are your eyes submerged in uncertainty? The truth is, you are so focused on filling gaps that you forget that some of them are irreplaceable. You try to glue the broken pieces with expectations that were never yours. The inevitability of discontent weighs more than any hope built on sand. And in this cycle, you cling to small crumbs, a sporadic gesture of affection, a word that seems like a compliment. Each fragment is an anchor, and, despite knowing it's insufficient, you hold on. The fear of loss, the fear of the unknown, makes the illusion safer than the raw, bare reality. This transforms into an internal game. Your mind creates narratives to justify the unjustifiable. You keep telling yourself that everything will get better, that things will change. But deep down you know that change depends on actions, and this creates a conflict that drains your energy. Looking outward becomes easier than looking inward. You divert your attention from your own mistakes, from your own choices. The comfort of denial brings a false sense of peace. But this peace is fragile, a castle made of cards ready to collapse. Each day is a repeated cycle. Unanswered messages accumulate like dust on forgotten shelves. Silences turn into deafening screams, but you refuse to listen. You prefer to stay in the comfort zone, even if this comfort is a prison. And so you live in waiting. Waiting for changes, for significant gestures, for a sign that confirms it's still worth it. But those signs never come. They dissolve in the other's indifference. Time passes, and you find yourself consumed by doubt and anguish. With each interaction, you question, evaluate, analyze, but the answer never presents itself. What should be a dialogue turns into a monologue. You speak, but you are not heard, and it echoes in your soul. The echo becomes a silent lament that only you can feel. Behind the silence, there is an abyss. You start to realize that it's not just about the other, it's about you. It's about what you accept. You become a spectator of your own life, trapped in a plot with no way out. Authenticity is lost amid staged smiles and superficial conversations. Somewhere there is a flame inside you, a desire to break free. You long for true connection, for love that doesn't require effort. But this flame is suffocated by fear. Fear of leaving behind what you know, fear of taking a step towards the unknown. Deep down you know that freedom involves letting go of what doesn't serve you, and that letting go is painful. It's a mourning for an ideal that never materialized, and you hesitate because you still believe there is potential hidden beneath the layers of indifference. The resistance transforms into a weight you carry. Each day is a new opportunity to decide, to choose between the safety of familiarity or the risk of change. And this dilemma intensifies. How much longer will you sacrifice in the hope of a miracle that will not come? Time turns into a precious resource. You cannot recover it. Each moment lost is a choice that favors stagnation. And while you wait for something external, what really needs to be addressed is internal. It's about recognizing your own strength, your ability to pursue what you truly desire. The truth is, you might be sitting on the edge, watching your life pass by. But each day you choose not to dive in. Each day you prefer the safety of inaction. You stray further from who you truly are. And this separation creates a void that is hard to ignore. The reality is harsh. The responsibility for change lies within you. And this idea can be frightening, but it's also empowering. You don't need to wait for anyone's permission. Your destiny is in your hands. Now, make a conscious choice. Do not be led by fear. The future is not a passive construction. It is shaped by your decisions. The shine you seek does not come from external recognition, but from self-acceptance. If you continue to doubt, you will continue to be a hostage to illusions. And each day, it will be harder to return to your essence. Your identity is not disposable. It's time to start acting with courage. It's time to face the reality that presents itself, and it has already been revealed. The choice you have before you is a fork in the road. On one side, the familiarity of what you know. On the other, the unknown that frightens. But each step towards change brings with it a burden of possibilities, a lightness hidden beneath the layers of worry. You wonder, what if there is pain? What if the struggle becomes unbearable? But the pain is already present, don't you think? Each passing day, this pain is fed by inaction. There are no guarantees that change will be easy. However, remaining stagnant is a certainty of where. You find yourself seeking justifications. The mind creates scenarios where change is not an option, but a burden. What if I regret it? What if I lose something valuable? Deep down, you know that this idea of loss is just a mirage. The real cost is continuing to trade your authenticity for crumbs. Every time you hesitate, the echo of your choices resonates louder. The voices of your insecurities transform into screams that drown out any spark of courage. You feel trapped in a cycle of self-destructive thoughts, where doubt becomes your most loyal ally. When was the last time you trusted yourself? When did you decide that your desire for a real connection is worth more than the small moments of attention that are offered to you? The search for acceptance can lead you to accept less than you truly desire. If you look closer, you'll see that the identity you have built over the years is not just a reflection of external interactions. It is formed by your choices, by your decisions or the lack thereof. What you accept defines who you become, and what you allow into your life shapes your self-worth. It's not about blaming the other person. It's about recognizing that the power to change your reality lies within you. Accompanying this thought, a new perspective arises. It's not just about the end of a worn relationship, but about the rebirth that can come from it. Imagine leaving behind expectations that were never fulfilled. Imagine embracing doubt not as an enemy, but as a guide. In every disappointment, there is a hidden lesson, something that teaches about your own limits, about your unexpressed desires. What begins as a fear of detachment transforms at some point into a need for liberation. The liberation from ideas that no longer serve, from memories that weigh you down. You are not obligated to carry others' burdens. All weight can be left behind. When you finally decide to distance yourself from what doesn't work, you begin to make room for new opportunities, for people who recognize your worth, for cycles that offer reciprocity instead of weariness. As you put yourself first, everything around you transforms. Conversations become lighter. Silences are no longer agonizing, but moments of reflection. Connection enters your life like a breath of fresh air, challenging your old beliefs. Every interaction does not need to be a test of endurance, but a space for mutual growth. The truth is that you deserve experiences that nourish your essence. Sometimes the story you tell yourself needs to be rewritten, and life demands courage for that. Every unspoken word, every ignored gesture contributes to the narrative you live. It's time to break that narrative. You observe others who seem to flow through life effortlessly, and a new perception emerges. They too face challenges, but the difference is they decided to act, to accept the momentary pain for eternal freedom. You don't need to imitate, but you can learn. This transformation begins within you. Recognizing that change brings discomfort, you find the courage to move forward anyway. Are you ready to challenge your own limitations? To step out of the supporting role and take the lead in your own life? When you refuse to settle for less, new horizons open up. Life is not about waiting for change. It is an impulse that comes from within. You'll begin to see the beauty in small victories, with each step taken towards a new tomorrow. A tomorrow where you are not limited by what should have been, but embrace what can be. A future built by your own hands. And in the process, you will discover that the true essence is not lost, but resurges full of life. The path may be arduous, and the journey will not be marked only by smiles, but in the end, every tear shed will be a reminder that you chose to live fully. Without reservations, without hesitations, and above all, without regrets. Reality has already been presented. Change begins now, and you are the author of this new story.